hi, everybody out there listening. I hope you're having a great Monday, and I want to welcome you to the Fostering Success Michigan 7 Life Domains for Students by Students webinar. Again, I'm so excited that you guys are joining us, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started. As you know, I am your host, FSM Student Ambassador Brittney, and I am joined today with another FSM Student Ambassador, Brittney. Hi, Brittney.
Hi, Bri.
So excited to have you here today. Before we get started, we're just going to go through a little housekeeping. First, attendees are in listen-only mode. You can ask questions using the chat or questions feature. If you have any technical difficulties, you can call the number on your screen. And also, as always, the recording will be available following the webinar in our resource library on our website. And then I would also like to say a special thank you to our funders, the Kresge Foundation, the Havermill Foundation, and Western Michigan University for their continuous support of fostering Michigan success. So our goals for our webinar today are pretty simple. This is going to be a super cool webinar, and the goals are just to provide an overview of the 7 life domains by the Casey Family Programs with a little twist on it for students by students. It is also our goal to provide student experiences and tips on succeeding in post-secondary education. So just to give you a little overview of what the 7 life domains are, the Casey Family Programs, It's My Life framework is where it comes from. And then at WMU, the Center for Fostering Success, we put education at the center of all the life domains. The 7 life domains make it easier to understand and respond to lived experiences of students. So this little meme that I have here is just really what I thought of when I first even heard about college or was expected to go to college. This is what I thought it would be like. So on this picture, you see there's sushi flying everywhere. One of the guys is crying, stuff in his mouth. Like, there's so many things to do, not enough time because time is moving past too fast. And so that's just my initial, when I first heard of the word college or thought about college, what I thought it would be like. So I thought it would be cool to share that with you guys. And then going into the education domain. So this is the first domain. And then basically education is the knowledge that you learn that will help you be successful. So I just kind of want to have a conversation about the reason that we talk about education. So education is basically the blueprint for a successful life. Especially for students with experience in foster care seeking degrees, they may face some adversities when they first come to college or when it comes to their learning. And so this is why we put education at the center. And then, Brittney, did you have any thoughts about why it's important to talk about education?
You know, honestly, from my perspective, just being an alumni of CARE, you know, from experiences in foster care, I think it's really important to stop certain cycles just with knowledge. So education is just important to have that knowledge base.
Great. It's a way to break that cycle and a way to become more and learn more. So thank you for that. And then the next one. And so we're just going to really get deep and talk about some feelings or some fears or some worries maybe you may have about education or some of our students that we talk to as well as ourselves. So the first big one is affording college. That's a big one. Because if you can't afford college or if you're not sure how you're going to afford college, it kind of makes it hard for you to get there. And so that's a very valid feeling or fear and worry. Next is, okay, so I get to college and I'm doing all this great stuff and I'm doing so much stuff that I have no idea what I want to major in. Like, I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's also a huge worry or fear that some students that we talked to had, and as well as myself. And then lastly, not doing well in college. Oftentimes you hear people say, oh, high school is a piece of cake. I never studied. And for me, it was that. High school was super easy. I just was like, oh, I don't have to study for anything. So when I came to college, I was super afraid that I wasn't going to do well because I wasn't trained or ready to do well because I didn't do much in college. And I don't know, Brittney, if you have any fears or worries or any thoughts on what we have here on the screen from your perspective.
You know, I have similar ones. You know, affording college is a big one and picking a major. When I came to college, roughly about 4 years ago, I had about 6 majors that I wanted to go into. So just, you know, seeing what fit for me and things that I really wanted to do was important. But just know that it's important to remember that whatever you choose at that moment, you don't have to do for the rest of your life.
Right.
So
that's a great one.
That's an interesting thing.
Awesome. And then some other tips to remember is filling out the free application for federal student aid, also known as FAFSA. So we talked about that worry of avoiding college. So youth who've experienced care oftentimes have funds that are available. And most of the times you're finding out about these funds through filling out this FAFSA. So it's really important not only that you fill it out, but that you're filling it out just as early as possible, as soon as it opens. And some resources and people that you could talk to about filling that out, your teachers, your counselors, your workers, any supportive adults or professionals should be able to assist you with that. And then the second one is super important for me because I, again, didn't know anyone that had went to college, like personally. And so I was like, I need to get as many experiences from people as possible. So talking to your teachers or your advisors just about their college experiences, or maybe what to expect can really help you. And then lastly, if you can volunteer in various different fields, like Brittney said, she had 6 things she wanted to major in. Maybe if you spend some time volunteering in those 6 categories before you get to college, it can kind of help you get some insight on what it's like to do that job, and also if you actually enjoy it. So, and then Brittney, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, something from my experience, even if you don't volunteer, maybe do like a job shadow. Maybe there's a major that you're like, I really want to go into this, but you're not sure. Job shadow, and you'll see if it's actually a possibility or something that is interesting to you.
Right. So then lastly, before we turn to the next screen, there's a meme on your screen that says, I'm going to go get one of those job things. And it's basically saying that, like, there's so many opportunities out there. There's so many things to do that it's like the world is yours and you just got to go grab it. And whatever that is to you, 6 majors or 1 or 2, whatever that looks like for you, it's all about you really following through and, again, getting those different opinions from those different teachers and advisors. And then also for more information, because this is a huge domain, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the education domain toolkit. And I totally recommend that you just go there and check it out and maybe learn a little bit more about what you want out of a college, out of a major, and some services that they can offer to do well in college. All right, so this is introducing our question phase. So after every domain, we found that it was important to listen to some of the questions that maybe you, yourself, students that you have, or supportive, or youth that you're a supportive adult to, might have. So we're going to start off with our first question, and then Brittney, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. So our question is, I'm having trouble finding colleges that support youth in foster care. Please help. So, taking a stab at this question, thinking about when I was in college, I went to, just like on the previous slide, I went to, researching. I talked to any workers that I had, any supportive adults, and tried to find out, pretty much resources that were out there. So mainly you can use Google to help with a lot of things, but if you're not as savvy on technology, where you're good at working with it, just ask someone, and I'm sure that they'll be willing to help you.
Awesome. And then I want to kind of add to what she said. I think it's super important that nowadays we have like texting and like all this social media that we forget that there's a call feature on our phones. And so I think when looking for colleges that support youth in foster care, number one, that's super important that they should have opportunities and things that support you. Try calling. There's just Google, like Brittney said, Google the college name and their academic number and say, hey, can you answer this question or connect me to someone who is able to answer this question for me, as well as our FSM website has a whole page dedicated to campus support-based programs and also campus champions. And so that's a great tool, which if you clicked on the education domain toolkit on our last slide, you can see it. So just remember that you have all these options out there. And though it may seem scary, like it's some big world, there's a lot of resources out there to help you. Moving on to our next domain, finances and employment, which for me is always a lot because there's a lot that goes into it. Hence the meme on the screen that says this too much, because there's so much to do. And then so this domain is just managing bank accounts, learning about saving, budgeting, and understanding loans. Basically, you're preparing for employment, whether it's a part-time job or it's a career, it's important to do. And then there's a quote up here that says 57% of foster care alumni indicated that they lack people to loan them money in the event of emergency. And the sources on our website are FSM. You click on our finances and employment page, and you will find that quote plus more information there. So that's just important to remember because that's a large number of people. And to loan them money, I have to loan money almost every month. So I think for me, it just shows like the large need, and so the large need for learning how to navigate finances and employment. So let's talk about it. Some of those fears or feelings or worries that you have. First of all, not knowing where or how to start. And again, that's just because it's such a huge domain that covers so much. Oftentimes you can get stuck in this black hole of, well, there's so many portions, where do I start? Which I feel completely as someone who experienced that. The second is lack of knowledge about how to manage finances. For me, this is important that I learned how to do this as I came to college, because I realized that if I didn't, I wouldn't be as successful. And so I understand that lack of doing that is very detrimental to the education. And then lastly, not knowing how to get a job. It used to be, fill out an application and turn it in. Now there's, all these online things. There's like the handshake app. There's different ways to do it. And so it's overwhelming and it's really hard. And so it's important to talk about because it's one of the many worries. And then, Brittney, did you have any thoughts on some of those? Do you have any personal experiences?
Just like on not knowing how to get a job, like just going off of what Bree said, like there's so many things out there, but just like knowing things just as simple as what to wear, how to do your hair, there's so many tips out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just research, talk to a lot of people, talk to your friends, and when they were successful at getting a job, ask the things that they did do right, and even ask the things that they didn't do so well that they could have improved on.
And I think going off of that, when you are doing these job interviews and you are Googling and you are maybe not getting these positions, or if you are, it's important to ask the interviewers, like, hey, did I do something really great that I can pull on for my next opportunity or share with someone?
Exactly.
And then with the lack of knowing about how to manage finances, for me, I noticed early that it was going to be important. And so what I did is I just created my own budget sheet. And I said, what do I have to spend every single month in order to survive? How much income do I have going in? And how much free time money do I have to spend? And though it started with that very simple list, it got more complicated as I went through my journey of college. And that's when I started noticing apps that can help you with it, or bank accounts and things like that can help you keep up with the large amount of, finances and what goes into finances. And so some tips to remember is on-campus jobs will work around your school schedule. So for me and the experiences of some students that we talk to, getting a job on campus is often cool because say you have class Monday at 11:30 and then you're out by 2, they often have 4-hour shifts. And though those 4-hour shifts make it easier for you to work versus like a job maybe off campus that will need you to do an entire 8-hour shift. And so it's really important to check into those campus jobs, and they also will work and help you learn how to network. So you just want to keep that in mind when you're looking at those. And then learning more about the different types of money that can help you pay for college is essential. So like there's different types of loans out there, different types of grants, different types of scholarships. Again, on our FSM website, we have a huge database for all these information about all these things. As you'll see, the Finances and Employment Domain Toolkit is at the bottom of the screen. And then lastly, for me, my first year, I bought a lot of books from the bookstore. And I spent almost like $600 just on books. And so for someone who barely had an income and was just starting out and was, worried about money and about how to manage it, it was a lot on me to spend that much money on a textbook. And so I really want you guys to remember that there are websites like Amazon, Chegg, to look at maybe before you look at the school website, and always use the exact name of the book and the authors and the edition. But it's just something to really keep in mind if you are managing those finances and learning how to save money and do so.
And something I just want to add, just in my experience in college, it's always good to have a book so that way you can do the the homework and to read up on things, because you're going to be assigned homework, you're going to be assigned chapters. But something that I also noticed, that I didn't always have to buy books, because I talked to my professor and saw how often I was going to actually have to use a book, and if there was actually ways to just share with someone.
Right.
So there were certain classes I could do that, and there were certain classes that I couldn't. So you'll just have to look at your syllabus, talk to your professor, and just, find out what best works for you and that class.
Awesome. Thank you. And then, so our next stage is our Dear Brittney and Bree. And so it says, Dear Brittney and Bree, do I have to work while going to college? Will it interrupt my studies if I work? And so I honestly think this is a question where it's like specific to your needs and your experiences and really what you can handle. So from my experiences, I can speak to you as working while going to college kept me on track, because I learned these time management skills, how to manage my finances. But if I have friends who it wasn't for them, and so I think it's really something that when you get to college, you just have to kind of feel out and give it a try, because it doesn't hurt. And if it doesn't work, go from there. And I don't know if, Brittney, you have some thoughts on that or some experiences.
Yeah, so the only thing that I can say from that is, I had a job while working or while in college, and I just saw that it helped with, like Bree said, it helped with like time management. It helped with a lot of skills. But I noticed that I was actually putting, my time wasn't balanced. So I actually had to figure out what I could do. So instead of not just working at all, I just made it where I cut down my hours in certain areas. So like Bree said, it's just how it works for you, just play around with it, see if it works, see if it doesn't, cut hours if you have to. Right. Just always put your studies first, because, that's what we're in college for, but make it work for you.
Right. And I think in doing so, a part of that is communication with your employer or your future employer from the beginning, expressing those concerns with if it will interrupt your studies while you're in college, and maybe asking them, you have student employees all the time. How do they say it affects their studies? Do you give us time off for midterms? And just asking those questions up front and using that communication so that you're prepared.
And, going off of that, I think it's also good that if something does come up, also talk to your professors.
Right. True. Yeah. And so you'll learn communication is really essential for college, as well as as well as everything else. So just pay attention to those. And then our next domain is life skills. And this is my favorite because I think it has the most area for growth for me personally, and because there's so many different things that go into life skills. So life skills are the abilities needed to navigate through daily living, including time management, managing health, hygiene, and much more. And so, again, it's filled with so many different things that it includes. And for me, it's great because I feel like it's an opportunity to grow in so many different ways in order to help you navigate through your everyday living. And then why are we talking about it? Because young people from foster care often have to grow up faster than their peers. And as I was typing this slide, I initially wanted to explain growing up faster than their peers. So from my experience, it was instead of playing with Barbie dolls, it was, okay, walk to the store and make sure you take a big enough coat and you take gloves in the cold because you're going to be carrying the groceries home. And so it's just that's just one example of ways that, I had to just grow up maybe faster than some of my peers. And it was important that I knew how to navigate through that. It was important that I knew how to work the bus system to get to the store, or it was important that I knew, okay, I have to go to school in the morning. So after school, after I do my homework, making that time management, then go to the store. So it's just different for youth with experience in foster care. And so it's important that we talk about it. And then Brittney, do you have any thing?
I agree. Growing up, I have 9 other siblings, and, my first thing wasn't to play with Barbie dolls or go outside, but it was to have life skills on how to cook, how to take care of younger children. I had parents that were not, available at times, and I had to learn those skills in order to take care of myself and my younger siblings.
So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind, and thank you for that example. And then, so let's talk about some of the real fears and worries or feelings that you may have about life skills. So first is not knowing what skills are needed for life in college at all, which is huge. Again, I almost want to pause after saying it to just, speak to how big it actually is. And then how to manage my time. That's a huge one as well. When your time management skills aren't on, you can often feel unbalanced. For me, speaking from experience, I feel more stressed and have higher levels of anxiety. And so that's something to really, really, think about, and think about maybe some tips to remember. And lastly, just how to cook. As Brittney's going to touch on later, the importance of physical and mental health, but just in life skills, just knowing how to heat up something in the microwave, or, just knowing that you can freeze fruit for a week and it will still be good. Just knowing those simple things to get you through and to help you survive is important.
And keeping in mind that like not knowing what skills are needed for life or how to manage the time or how to cook, this is all going to be different based on the person.
Exactly.
Because you're going to cook different than I do. I'm sure I eat different things than Bree eats, and my time management is going to be different from her. So I'm going to need different life skills. There are certain ones that are like primary for everyone, but the way that you do it is going to differ on your type of style and what works best for your life.
Right. And so just some tips to remember. I'm guilty of it. I always say the internet is my best friend, and I will tell anybody that asks. YouTube tutorials are great. This generation is like amazing with how much stuff you can Google on YouTube to help you figure out how to do. I tried doing these meal preps and I'm trying to eat better. And so I go on YouTube and see what everybody else meal preps. And maybe like Brittney said, it's going to be special to my needs, but it gives me at least some basic knowledge on what it looks like. And so I'm a real big pusher for using the internet if you have internet access, because it's free and it's amazing, and it's YouTube is out there. And again, these tutorials are great, and they're not just for cooking as well; they're for multiple things. Right. And then getting a mentor. I feel like this one is important, as I am a mentor, because a lot of times my mentees, they just like, hey, we made this drizzled popcorn in class and I thought it was cool. How will I get the recipe for that? Or if they're just having a bad day, or my meal prep that I talk about, I have one of my mentees who loves working out, and I'm like trying to get into it. So it's a mutual relationship that you learn from, and you also can be taught. So it's a great resource to have. And I think it can help you navigate better through those life skills. And then knowing how to use a computer is huge. There's public libraries that maybe allow free access in certain neighborhoods and communities. Just going and taking advantage of that, or computer labs maybe after school, in any way, form, and shape you can, trying to get those computer skills down, because pretty soon everything's going to be done by the computer. And so that's going to be important for life skills. And like I talked about earlier, now job applications are on apps on your phone or on the computer. So the world is changing, so it's important that you're changing and acclimating to that.
Right, and in college, we use our laptops a lot. Typing and researching, and so get savvy at it, know how to do it.
My screen time is a lot.
Absolutely.
So like she said, the better you are at it, the easier it is going to be to navigate. So that's important. And then getting a planner to manage your time better. And this is even starting where you are now. The earlier you start using this planner and getting organized, the better for later in life and for managing that time and setting those priorities. I didn't start using a planner until college, and now I can say that if I do not have my planner, my day is all off. And my planner keeps me grounded, and it keeps me understanding what I need to do. And so, I don't know if you have any extra thoughts on that, but
pretty much summed it up. I use my planner a lot, and like Bree, I didn't use it until college either, but it was great. It was like, wow, why didn't someone tell me this like years ago? This would have saved me so much time and energy. So, use the tip now and just start. Like Bree said, get started earlier. It's going to save you so much time, and you'll learn the life skill of time management.
And then, as you can see on my screen, it says you need help. I think I can help with that. So I just wanted to end with, again, at FSM here, we have this great thing called the website. Within our life skills domain toolkit, we have a lot of resources, but I also don't want to only keep you there. Explore. When I first explored the website, it was amazing at how many things that it offered in life skills and in everything else. So if you need help, we can help you with that by clicking on that life skills domain toolkit and checking out the website. And so we're moving into our Dear Brittney and Bree question.
So it says, how do I stay organized in college? So as we talked about earlier, getting the planner, that will help you stay organized. Maybe making even a to-do list. And in my planner, there's a back, like in the back, there's like little portions where I can write where it says like notes, and I'll write like my to-do list back there. And then I make these boxes on the side so I can like check it. It makes me feel really good. Or you can cross it out. I put things not only in my planner, but I also use my phone. So I have a phone, in our phones, we have an application for a calendar. I put it there. I put it in my email calendar, and I put it in my planner. So that way I'm always reminded. And the great thing about our phones is that the calendar will remind you, and you can
Exactly.
set it for any time that you want. You can dismiss it. You can reschedule it. Like if you are not ready, you can say, hey, remind me in like 30 minutes or remind me tomorrow at this time. And you can even use your phone to check as well.
Yeah, she basically answered the exact question, which is great. Like, I love that she answered it. And I think just to sum it up, just remembering the earlier you start with these organization techniques and learning these life skills, the better you'll be. I just want to emphasize that Brittney said, I wish someone would have told me about a planner before college. I would have saved, again, like she said, so much time, so much effort, so much headache, and so much stress and anxiety if I just had some way or knew of some way, you know, to collect my thoughts and stay organized. And so that's the point of this webinar, is to hopefully get you prepared and let you know some of the hacks and tips that we never had.
And you know, Bray, I was just thinking while you're talking, like using, like just going outside of the box, not just a planner, but like using folders and binders and sticky notes and highlighters. There are so many different ways, and you're going to find the method that works for you. If you like it black and white, or if you like it really colorful, whatever works for you, do it.
And speaking on that, I actually was just going through my stuff. So as I'm graduating in 2 months, I'm trying to get rid of my paper load from college and what I keep and what I throw out. And I was going through my freshman year, and freshman year I had one folder, and I just had a bunch of papers in it. And so now organized and somewhat, you know, good time management, Bree, I'm looking back and I'm having anxiety of how I kept up with everything I had to do, you know, before the invention of my planner, because it's just a folder full of so much information, you know, 5 classes and there's one paper for every class. And I'm like, I'm so glad that nowadays I have a different color folder and notebook for each subject. And so that's just something, again, these little things that you can be practicing now to prepare you better for when you get in college.
Okay, so identity. What is this domain? It's how someone views themselves and what makes them who they are. Why do we talk about it? It's important to have confidence in yourself to build a healthy self-image of who you are. You know, from my experience in college, you know, you're young when you start college. So obviously you don't know exactly who you are. You have some form of certain things about who you are, you know, your strengths and your weaknesses, but there is so many other things that you can learn about yourself. And through college and through talking with people, friends, you know, picking a major, you're going to find those things, you know, about who you are.
And I also just want to add that identity is constantly changing. And so I think it's important the earlier that we introduce it and the earlier that we talk about it, the better we can get comfortable with, you're not going to be the same person all the time.
Exactly.
And as that's a scary thing to think about, for me, I just say, you know, I'm changing for the better. It might not be easy right now and it might hurt and it might be hard, but in the long run, it's going to be great.
And thanks, Bree. That going off of that, you know, just thinking about like certain things that I struggled with. You know, one thing about building like a healthy self-image, I had to become resilient. There were so many things that I experienced in my life that, you know, some things I didn't understand, and there's still things I still don't understand. But, you know, at the bottom, you see where it says more info. You can click on here and you can learn about what resiliency is, how to become resilient, and ways to have like self-care and self-compassion for yourself, because it's so important, especially if you've experienced foster care or anything that has been traumatic for you. You know, it's just really important to have that positive energy for yourself.
And I think on this website, it can also, you know, make you aware of some of the things that you're doing great. So yeah, maybe you're struggling in the sense of you don't know who your friends are, but you have some great self-esteem and some great self-confidence. And so not only can it help you learn, it can help you become aware about some of the things that you're already doing. That's great. And I mean, who doesn't love to figure out that they're doing something good with themselves and that they are helping themselves grow to be a better person. Exactly. So I also would love you to look at it that way, if that'll, you know, make you more prone to clicking that link just to get some more information and be aware of yourself.
So let's talk about the feelings of fears or worries that you'll have about identity. Maybe there's a fear of fitting into a group of people, someone labeling you. You know, someone treating you differently based on your experiences. You know, speaking from my own experiences in middle school, high school, I had situations where this actually did occur. And when I got to college, I'm like, where do I fit in? You know, what do I do? You know, I was trying to find out who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like, and then also just trying to keep up with everything that was going on. And so, you know, just to remember to put myself first as I'm trying to put my studies first, and if I'm working or not. So, you know, it's if these, these feelings happen for you, just know that, you're not alone in this. Absolutely not. And it's just important to, remember like who you are.
I also think it's important that to realize that, again, who you are is changing. So it's like, maybe in high school you would have fit with this group of people and they would have been your people. And as you've been growing and as you've come to college, you realized, I want some more for myself, or I don't really like to do that anymore. I kind of see myself going in this direction. That is okay. Like what you said, it's okay to remind yourself that I'm constantly changing. And so what that may look like today might not look the same in 6 months.
Bree, that's so funny that you say that. Just going off of that, I used to think that was a bad thing. I'm like, why do I not get along with this group of people anymore? Why don't I fit in this, this group? And it's actually, it's not a bad thing. It's just how the perspective, how you look at it. Like if you're growing, you are going to change. Something that I always remind myself is just plant the seed and it will be watered. So as much as a flower or a tree or anything grows, so will you.
I like that.
So a couple of things to remember, like we said, hard times, it'll build your character. Failure, it shows your grit. Risk, it will challenge you and inspire you. So college creates a chance to explore. Just research, get active, and discover who your true self is. Be yourself, pace yourself, and just remember, it's not about the destination, it's about your journey. Being right now in my life, I am still discovering, the more so the journey and learning to understand that just because I have a goal or achievement, that's not the destination.
Right.
That is still a path in your journey. And it's just good to be able to have like self-compassion and to just say like, this is just a moment of my life, or this is something that I achieved and I'm just going to keep going, just embrace it.
Right.
Is there anything you want to add, Bree?
I just want to add that I think for me, it was important because I struggled with, not other people labeling me but me labeling myself. So I think in identity, like you said, you be yourself, pace yourself, and also be kind to yourself.
Exactly.
And so I can't stress how important that is enough. And if you want to learn more about it, again, we have these great domain toolkits like you'll see at the bottom of your screen. You can click and learn more. And just remember, as you're going through these changes and as you're going on your journey and you're headed to your final destination, being kind to yourself will really pay off in the long run. So just remember that.
Our next question, Brittney, you want to go ahead?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So our next Dear Brittney and Bree, it says, Dear Brittney and Bree, I'm having difficulty picking a club or RSO organization on my campus that fits my identity or character. So an RSO is a registered student organization. And so basically it's a group of students who have the same, similar interests that get together and kind of hang out and be each other's people. And it can be sports, it can be modeling, it can be healthy eating, it can be all these different things. So basically the question is asking, what should I do? I'm having trouble. So I think keep looking. I'm not one to settle. So I think if it's not fitting you, it's not for you.
Right.
And again, it's all about those personal experiences and you as a person. And so for me, I would listen to myself if I'm not fitting in, and I would keep looking. On different campuses, there are over hundreds of these organizations, and some even allow you to create your own. Absolutely. So I think for me, I would say not to settle, because if it's not fitting, then I don't think you're meant to be there. So I would say keep looking at those different organizations and clubs and RSOs, and also it's okay to join more than one. Right. So like, you like a few, maybe it's not that you can't find one you like, maybe it's you found 80. I would say then narrow it down to your top 5 and the ones that you have interest in, and then go for it.
Yeah, and I think just starting off with even trying to find them, on your campus, if you go to the website, you'll find a list of what is available, and just go to like certain meetings. And like Bree said, if you don't like it, go to another one, just keep going until you are like, this is it. Right. You don't have to settle and you don't have to be there. Don't feel bad just because you don't like it or it's not right for you. Do what is best for you.
And so, yeah, and then remember, again, really important that college campuses, community colleges offer maybe opportunities to start your own. And if they don't, maybe ask about that and see how that will fit, because you know yourself best and you know your interests. And so if they don't have it, try to start it. And so I think that's really the answer to the question.
All right, supportive relationships and community connections. I love this domain. So what is this domain? Well, it's connecting with others, sharing your experiences and working together towards the same goals, which is so important. It's really important to connect with others because, you know, that's what shapes our connections. That's what shapes our identity. That's what helps to build these relationships and to learn how to network, you know, and having these goals and being able to work with people that are like-minded or in the same area is very helpful, especially, you know, when you're trying to execute certain things. Why do we talk about it? Well, healthy supportive relationships are important to your health and helping you be successful in your life.
And then I just want to add to that. And so, again, I think also going with the why we talk about it, oftentimes youth with experience in foster care are having these rapid moving placements. And even if they're not rapid moving, it's these, this social worker to this social worker to this case manager to this judge to this lawyer. And it's just, it's really hard. We talk about it because it's something that youth with experience in foster care struggle with. What is a supportive relationship? What does that look like? And for me personally, I think trust. I think the trust portion is what I was missing. And so I wasn't able to have those supportive relationships because I'm like, well, you're just going to leave. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to realize those thoughts within yourself and try to fight to, you know, say, is this a supportive relationship? How can I make it a supportive relationship? Let's have this conversation about it. So if you do leave, we can still keep that relationship. And so I think that's really important to touch on.
That's good, Brittney. I also think that, you know, in this sentence, when I was writing it, I thought about what supportive means to you, you know, because it's going to mean something different to everyone. And then also successful in your life, like whatever success is to you, that's going to look different based on my experience, based on Bree experience, based on your experience. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind and know that whatever is healthy for you, like whatever support you need, define that and find it.
Awesome. And then with community connections, I also just want to touch on like how important and how great of a thing it is to make these connections. And so I think we talk about it because oftentimes when you're connected with the community, you find that place of belonging. And so I think that's really important because, again, from my experience personally as a youth with experience in foster care, belonging was something I didn't feel for the longest time. So I think community connections is just as important as those supportive relationships.
I agree. So kind of going off of what we are talking about, you know, feelings and fears and worries that you may have about relationships, it may be hard to make new relationships, hard to trust people, fear of losing people in your life. As Bree was talking about earlier on the previous slide, it's difficult to trust, you know, especially coming from certain experiences. In my experience, you know, there was never someone that I could trust on. So I always thought maybe I'm going to be pulled from this placement or you're going to just leave. Or, you know, the biggest thing for me is with the trust, I feel like I wasn't heard. And because I wasn't heard, I'm like, well, how can I even trust someone if they're not even listening to me? You know, and then making new relationships, I still sometimes feel like I struggle with that. It's not necessarily about that I can't make the relationship. It's more so like keeping that relationship and like Bree said, maintaining the relationship, but also like, what do I do? Like sometimes I'm just like, how often do I contact you? What should I say? What can you help with me? Or what can you help with? Like, I never know. And, you know, from my experience, when I grew up, I did a lot of things on my own. So I always used to say to myself, well, if I can do it, why do I need to ask someone else?
Exactly.
So people will always ask me, well, what do you need help with? And it's like, well, I don't know, because if I needed help, then I would, you know, I don't know what it is. Like, I should just do it on my own. So, you know, I think that these are common feelings and worries, and, you know, just remembering to put yourself out there, you know, keep an open mind and ask for help. That can be from anyone. That can be from your mentor. That can be from coaches, professors, you know, your job. As long as, you know, these are still, if it is people at work, making sure that you're staying professional, that's very important. You know, networking with job opportunities, it can create job opportunities, connections, and more knowledge about these certain things. Bree, is there anything that you want to add?
Yeah, so I think for this, and going through some of our students' experiences that we read about when creating this webinar, I think they were really, really like concerned about, you know, the fear of losing people in your life and it's being hard to make new relationships. And so to that, like you said, I say keeping an open mind and asking for help. I would just emphasize that bullet point. Because I think oftentimes change starts with a change in our minds. So if you can kind of understanding the experiences and trauma and things that you face in life, just kind of keep on the forefront of your mind, keeping an open mind. and that you can ask for help. Yeah, you've had to do it by yourself for so many years, but if you don't have to, why not? Exactly. And maybe these other connections and people can help you grow in ways you couldn't. Yeah. Right, give you opportunities that you couldn't have got without them.
And I think it's a good idea. Like from my experience, like I shared, you know, not knowing what I needed help on, I think it's a good idea to ask for help, because you might not know what you need help at that very moment, but just being able to problem solve and have someone available, it's amazing. So asking for help and keeping an open mind, it is so important.
Yeah, I would just emphasize that. And then as always, FSM has a website. This great tool, Supportive Relationships and Community Connections Domain Toolkit, will help you navigate through some of these feelings and worries and give you way more tips than we could give you in our time frame. So I'm encouraging you to click on that link if you have any sort of questions or want to learn more information, just to see.
Absolutely. All right, so we go into Dear Brittney and Bree question again. So how do I build and maintain a consistent relationship with others? So, you know, just starting off from just certain things that we've already said, this is going to really just go off of like who you are. You know, this is person by person. So our experiences doesn't define yours, but, you know, it depends on, you know, what that relationship looks like to you, what it is, how it can be supportive. But to build it, I feel like you got to put yourself out there. You know, that was like something that I struggled with in college. It was like I didn't have the time. I didn't think I had the time. I really did. But I felt like, you know, you have to put yourself out there and you have to communicate. That's what you have to do. You have to have this open communication. So if there's something that you need help with, or there's something that, you know, you just have a question, it's something that you probably, you know, you don't know, or you're not sure. Maybe you need reassurance, validation, whatever it is, having just that person after you build it, you maintain it by just communicating. And it seems like, okay, that's too simple. But you know what? It literally is. It just is.
And then the only thing that I'd add, you took all the words out of my mouth. The only thing that I would add to start off that consistent relationship is just honesty. So if you're scared and you don't know how, look, I've dealt with some experiences, and you don't need to be specific, whatever you're comfortable with, that have not allowed me to know how to maintain or even, you know, build these consistent relationships. So we're going to have to be honest with each other, and it's going to take some time. So I think that's the only thing I can add.
And, you know, Bri, as you were talking, I thought about something. You know, collect data. That is if you don't trust someone, you know, just give it time. Time is going to show you if you should trust this person or not. And, you know, just give it time. If it doesn't work, then, you know, go and build somewhere else. You know, you don't have to continue to stick with that person. And like Bree said, be honest. So if something's not working, tell that person, because it might actually strengthen the relationship that you already have.
One person told me the other day that people make mistakes and you need to be patient with yourself, and just as patient with yourself as other people. So I think that fits perfectly with maintaining and building these consistent relationships with others.
That was great. All right, so physical and mental health. What is this domain? It is important to stay healthy and know health care resources in your area. So, you know, just going off of that, there's going to be area that you live in, and there's going to probably be a different area where you go to college. And, you know, while you're in college, it's really important to know if there is a health clinic around you, or even on campuses. I know from my experience, from going to college, there was a healthcare resource right on the campus. And just knowing what they offered, your insurance, you know, if they do accept it, that is very important. And you can find that out just by calling, or just by going on the website. Bree, is there anything you want to add to that point?
I just want to add that, again, physical and mental health will change as you change. And so this is one of those domains where, like it says this picture at the bottom, healthy body, healthy mind equals happy human. It's a work together with both of them, and a balance, and a being comfortable with that changing. And that equals that happy human. So that's all I really just want to add.
Right. So that's why we talk about it. You know, physical and mental health build awareness and how to take care of yourself. All the things that we've been talking about, these domains, you know, just knowing how to take care of yourself. Like Bree said, the healthy body, healthy mind, happy human. You have to know yourself in order to know what your body and your mind needs. So let's talk about feelings, fears, or worries that you may have about your health. So from my experience, you know, and a lot of people have said this, and you will hear it actually when you're talking about college. And it's this like dreadful freshman 15. If no one knows what that is, it's gaining weight. So from my experience, I definitely had this freshman 15. I don't anymore, and I'm so happy. But, you know, from the stress, from the transition, there's just eating in general, like it is so much to maintain. And that is why it is important to just like literally watch the things that you eat. So another fear or worry is like having money to buy healthy foods. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, what is a healthy food? There's so much research out there that states like this is healthy, this isn't healthy. You know what works for you? Exactly. You know that, you know, like if you're eating a bunch of candy, come on now, we know that that's not healthy, but it's okay to have it every now and then, you know. But if there is something that is hurting you or that your stomach or your body, your mind doesn't like, obviously that's not a healthy food. But it is a fear that people might not have money to support themselves in this area. Mm-hmm. And then worrying about being alone. So, you know, there's a lot of people that actually, you know, from my experience, I came to college and I didn't have a good support system. And this was one of my fears. And I actually felt alone, even though I technically wasn't. In the moment of my perspective, that's how I felt. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that actually feel this. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you said it perfectly. I think echoing what you said is just remembering that for you, it looks like something different. So the freshman 15 of you was my freshman 20. And so just remembering that, again, it is different experiences and that, you know, there are some tips to remember. So if you want to go ahead and give us some good news.
So tips to remember, pay attention to how your body feels. Your body knows what it wants, what it needs, listen to it. There's so many things. And, you know, from my experience, I'm really into health and I never used to be. So one thing that I did, I started doing research on like, why does my body feel this way? I used to have these cravings of like sugar, and I don't even like to really intake sugar. And all that said is that I needed something to boost my energy. So do some research and find out when you're craving this, what is the body really saying to you? Mm-hmm. And if you're supporting your body, you're definitely going to support your mind. Learn how to let go of things that you can't control. This is a big one.
This is a big one for mental health.
Super big, because you can drain yourself by trying to control so many different things. And it can be as simple as when you know, there's so many different things I can touch on, but if you cannot control it, and that just means like, if it is something that you just can't do, like it's out of your control, just don't do anything at all. Let it play out. Give it time. You know, from my own experience, I pray about things. I write things down. I talk to people. And then after that, I let it go, because there's not much more that I probably can do. Or I do everything that I can do, and the rest I just leave into another person's hands. Ask supportive adults and health services about health services within your community. This is going to help not only with mental health, but also your physical health, because they relate so much to each other. But being able to ask like what is available, you know your needs. And when you know your needs and you know the resources, then you can connect yourself with them. And once again, more information. We have the physical and mental health domain toolkit. Our website is amazing. Go there, click on it, read about it, and don't stop there. Keep searching for different things. We have the search bar, and you can find whatever. There are so many things that on this website that you will find out. Bree, is there anything you want to add?
I think I just really want to add, when it comes to mental health, I think in grooming your physical health, I think it takes your mental health as well. Absolutely. So I think a lot of it is, again, it works together. And so mental health is often not talked about as enough as it should be. So I just want to highlight the fact that when you are looking for these colleges, or when you're going to college, when you're talking about it, make sure you're paying attention to your mental health and asking those questions of, is there a facility, just like the gym? Is there a counseling service that's there? Is there a support group? I mean, just normalizing the fact that everyone has, you know, something that they need to work on mentally. I mean, for me, it took the longest time due to the stereotypes that were connected, not stereotypes, sorry, due to the, you know, bad language and the words that were connected with mental health. I mean, so I was trying to be physically fit and do all these great things, and nothing was working because I wasn't connecting it to my mental health.
Absolutely.
And so I think paying attention to your mental health first can also help you fuel that physical health, that eating right, that what you're craving and what your body wants.
Absolutely.
So it's important. It's not talked about enough. So please make sure that you're keeping your mental health in check and getting those resources.
Yeah, that's great. Like not paying attention to labels.
Yeah, because that's what I did in there.
So just before we go off the slide, I just wanted to read this apple. So every 35 days, your skin replaces itself. Your liver about a month. Your body makes these new cells from the food that you eat. What you eat literally becomes you. You have a choice in what you are made of simply because you are what you eat. And there, I love that it says you have a choice. In all of this, you have a choice. So your physical and your mental health is very important, and just take control over what you need. And like Bree said, don't hang up yourself on the labels.
Exactly. And so we have our Dear Brittney and Bree question. And so our question for Dear Brittney and Bree is, does the financial aid package include the college's health insurance, or does the institution have health coverage or a health center accessible for students? And so this is basically what I just poured into you. And so my answer to you would be call. Yeah. You have this phone, I always text a lot and I'm on the internet, social media. And so sometimes I forget the call feature is there and it's quick. And again, I'm a queen of the internet. And so Googling, and then I encourage you to, when you're Googling and when you're calling, be as specific as you want, because it's your body and it's your mental health. And so you want to make sure you're giving it the best. And so you want to make sure the best is available. And then as far as, the financial aid packages, including the college's health insurance, that's also something that is very important that you're going to want to call, because it varies for different places. And so I would just encourage you to get comfortable with internet surfing, being an internet queen, and using the telephone for other things other than texting.
Absolutely. So, Bree, that's great. You summed everything up. The only thing that I want to add from that is, with calling people, they're going to ask you for your ID number for your health insurance. Know your health insurance, have access to the card that you have. If you don't have access, check in with the caseworker or your guardian or supportive adult that does have that information, and just have it on hand. So that way, when you do call, you are not asked for this information and then have to recall, but you're prepared. Okay, housing. What is this domain? Learning how to live on your own and navigate transportation. Why do we talk about it? It's important to have safe and stable housing and access to transportation. Thinking about this, if we don't have access to transportation, we're not going to really get much places. It's really important to be somewhere that's safe and to also have that transportation to get to the places that we need and to get to the place that is safe for us. Bree, is there anything that you want to add to the slide?
I just want to add that it's important to youth with experience in foster care, because we often don't have these two things.
Right.
So though it may seem like it's so simple and everybody has it, and for me, even access to reliable transportation is new to me as of 2 years ago. So it's it's important to talk about, because youth with experience in foster care don't often have these things. And so I'm hoping today that we're talking about it and offering some insight so that you can have a different outcome than maybe some of us did.
Right. And just remembering that, living on your own, it is very different from whatever experiences that, we may have had, if that's living within a guardian or, foster parents or even parents. Depending on your situation, when you're on your own, there are so many things that you actually have to do.
You never thought of before.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the feelings, the fears, or worries. Finding housing close to campus or your job. This is important because, if you're not able to have, transportation, we have two great things. Those are our legs. We can walk so many different places. So you think about it, if you have housing that's close to campus or your job, you can walk, or you can walk to a bus stop, knowing how to, have access to that. Another thing that could be a worry is becoming homeless. This is something that is huge. And in my own experience, I did become homeless. And I had to navigate from that. So this is a true worry and a fear of a lot of people. And there's a high number of people that actually do become homeless. It's scary. And learning just how to get from here to there. This is all important when it comes to housing and when it comes to having the reliable transportation and just being safe in general.
Right. And so I just want to add to that. I think a lot of times with how to get to from here and to there. It's I think that's important, and I think that's a worry, because without getting from here to there, you can't grow and be successful. And so I think, though it doesn't seem like it's as important as housing, I would say it's just as important.
Absolutely. I agree. So some tips to remember: try to have open communication with your roommates. If you do have roommates, it is important. As we said before, open communication is great in any relationship. Mm-hmm. You know, no matter who you're living with, it is important to just be honest, right, and to just say what you need. You know, if there's a situation, talk about it. If there's something that you want done differently, talk about it. Literally, like, talk about everything. That's what we mean by open communication. Right. Learn about rental, leases, and insurance. These things are important when you're living on your own. There are so many different places that you can live, but right, every rental place has different clauses of what is needed or how much you have to pay. You know, the leases are going to change, and so is insurance for that, like renter's insurance. Right. It is so important to have this knowledge about it. So, you know, research it. Just like Bree said earlier, YouTube has these things. Go to the library, get some books on it. Talk to people that have already lived on their own, the supportive adult. There are so many ways to learn this information. And once again, you know, download the bus schedule onto your phone. So we talked about earlier, like, knowing the bus schedule, but there are so many apps where you can download it to your phone and it's right there. If I'm not mistaken, it tells you the time that it's coming. It tells you like how far it is. It gives you the route, the bus number. You know, it's just so many things that you can use. And for more information, you know, go to the Housing Domain Toolkit on our website. It is very helpful, and you'll find so much more information than what we're talking about on this slide. There's just so much that we can cover. And if you go to the toolkit, you will find pretty much whatever you are looking for. Bree, is there anything that you want to add to this?
Again, just echoing exactly what you said. And I just really think that the most important thing for me on this slide is just the learning that open communication might seem scary, but I think at the end of the day, it's how you keep that safe and suitable housing. You know, you don't want to be somewhere where you feel unsafe, or that you feel nobody cares about you, or that is dangerous. Yeah. And so ways to avoid that, and a real big tip I just want to emphasize: open communication. Not always easy, but I think it's a heck of a lot easier than taking your roommate to court, or having, you know, arguing with your roommate, not getting enough sleep, missing class. Like, it's hard at the beginning, but I think it's an investment to your outcome and your safety. And so I would say, pay attention to that. And again, the FSM website is a great, great place. As I'm graduating, I need new housing. And so this is where I've been spending my days, looking for, you know, some education and some tools, and, you know, what goes into these leases and what I'm responsible for as a renter and all these different things. And so, I work here and I know a lot of stuff, but I still use the website. And so I just really encourage you guys to do the same.
Yeah, and just make sure, like Bree said, she's looking for housing, you know, just make sure wherever you choose, you are safe. And make sure even when you're having that open communication that you feel safe to talk about it.
Yep.
So this is our last question of the Dear Brittney and Bree. So, do students have to live on campus in order to receive benefits? So from this question, the way that I would answer is that, you know, it's probably going to depend on the campus itself. And this is going to require for you to do some information. I know from my experiences, I had to live on campus in order to receive the scholarship that I did, but not all of them work that way. It just depends on what your campus offers, and talking to a supportive adult, doing research, or just calling the college of your interests and asking this question is very helpful. Bree, is there anything you want to add to that?
I just want to add that from community colleges where there are no campus, you know, housing, I think that's important that if you're looking into any of those schools, and again, on our website, we have them listed that support youth with experience in foster care. Those you obviously don't need to live on campus because they don't have campus. So if you're looking for somewhere where you would rather not, I think that would be a great place to start. And then just echoing everything that you said.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, as we're ending, I really just want to say first, thank you, Brittney, for coming and being the other host with me today. I really, really enjoyed you being here. And I'm glad we got to talk about a lot of the fears and worries that people who want to go to college maybe experience. And I just wanted to thank our listeners, and maybe you didn't get to ask your question today. You can always ask it on the website or leave a comment on the post after it's posted. And then again, as always, if you like this content and you want it to continue, you can donate on our website at www.fosteringsuccessmichigan.com. And then again, the webinar recording will be available after it ends. Thank you to you all, and I hope you go into this rest of this Monday and the rest of the week and fight on.
Thank you.